This is our content, sponsored by Geographics Media.
This is the Our Content Podcast. That's Big J the artist. My name is Step, aka Cyncere Wizdumb. So what you gonna do, Jay? Kick it.
I'm a liar, barely feel remorse. I'm a cheater, letting my nature take its course.
Let's go.
Man, like we were talking, man, before we even hit the button, bro, we were talking about music. And that's something that has brought us together, man, like crazy. The whole Geographics crew, man, it has been unified many times through music. The love of music, the expression of music, there's just the vibe of music, bro. And that's just something that it's crazy because we haven't done a show on music, and that's our thing, So that's what we on tonight, bro.
Well, we we touched on it a little bit during season one when I
Mhm.
when we talked about Milli Vanilli, when we talked about Hammer, who I love by the way.
Yeah.
And we talked about a few of the people that we dug as far as music is concerned. But where do you want to go, man, as far as music is concerned? I see something in your eyes, and the listener, if you look into his eyes right now, you see some wheels spinning. So I'm very anxious to sit down and hear what you got to say and chime in because I know you coming with it.
Well, music is so many things to me. It's given me some of the greatest times in my life, and I made so many great friends just over music. Uh, but I personally feel like the greatest thing about music, its greatest attribute, is that it's a tool, and it's a tool that should be used wisely, hopefully used wisely by the creator and also by the listener, uh, the DJs who play it all over this big wonderful world we live in. It's a tool, bro, and I love it, and I've had some great experiences. I've had some times where it got me through some things, but I realized that it's because it's a tool, and I didn't even really think about it, but I was using it as a tool so many times, and I know you have, and
Of course.
whether we're creating it, whether we're spinning it somewhere, we both have DJ before, and it's such a beautiful thing, man. Music has so much depth to it, man. We're not gonna be able to cover it all tonight, and that's okay. I don't want to cover it all tonight. I just want to appreciate it and discuss it, and it being a tool. So you know, I was watching a video just earlier today of the jazz artist Sun Ra, and he was talking to some youth. This had to be in the '70s because everyone had like bell bottoms and afros and stuff. And he was in this room with all these like I say early 20-year-olds, and Sun Ra had this bugged out outfit on. He had these big space shoes on, and he had like this. He had these like multicolored space shoes on. He had this headdress on, and he was looking dead serious about everything he was talking about. And this rather cute young lady, who's probably somebody's great grandmother right about now, uh, was asking him about what he had on, and because he was talking about outer space, that's Sun Ra, space
Right.
is the place. If y'all haven't read that book by Sun Ra, Space is the Place, I encourage you guys to read it. It's in my collection, and I encourage you guys to read it. It's an excellent, excellent read. It's out there, but it's an excellent read. But anyway, I was watching this video about Sun Ra, and he was they were grilling him basically about what he had on, and they was asking him what they were saying, like, you look like something that I would walk away from if I didn't know that you were this jazz artist. If I just saw you on the street, they were like, you don't even look real. And he said something very interesting. He said I'm not real, and he said y'all not real. He said
Wow.
he basically alluded to how we have a perception that we put forth, we an image that we try to put forth that we want people to uh, uh, see us, think of us, and perceive of us,
Perceive.
but that's
Hmm.
not necessarily real. And he
Right.
said that all of us in this room aren't real. Now he was talking in the 70s, so it had a kind of a racial tone to it, but he was saying like how. Black people at that time, and just at the time period he was speaking, he was saying like our identities are not real. He said because if they were, if we really knew who we were, we wouldn't be going through the issues and problems
Right.
that we're going through, that they were going through at that present time in the 70s. He was saying like how we weren't even being recognized as real people, and our
Correct.
contributions to civilization hasn't been recognized in where they were in America. And so he was saying that I'm not real and you're not real, but I'm here to guide us back to reality through outer space, and I'm going to transcend space and time with this music. And that was so freaking dope and ill to me that he approached it like that, because that's what music does. And it's so beautiful that you can take music and you can guide people to love, to you can guide them to awareness. You can guide them to anger. You can guide them to a sense of duty and purpose. You can guide them to friendship. You can guide them through sadness.
Correct.
And if you're not guiding them, at the very least, you can be the soundtrack for all those things that I just mentioned, and so many more things. And I know I sound passionate because I love music, and I know you
Of
do, bro.
course.
So I mean,
Oh yeah.
that's been our thing, and just a crew thing in general. Uh, from how we grew up through jazz, hip hop. Before hip hop, there was soul music, certain types of pop music,
Right.
gospel music. There's so many influences that we've had, and it's almost impossible for me to just claim one thing, because we have this amalgamation of all these different styles and sounds, and that we have in our souls and our spirits, and they run through us. I mean, we both played instruments in marching band together, band class.
You
Uh,
sure did.
yeah, shout out to all the people out there who were in marching band back in the day or who are in it now. I
Correct.
had a great time in marching band, bro. Man, I had a good time
We
in
did.
marching band. And boy, man, that's a whole episode in and of itself. Is marching band.
Let me tell you, I'm glad that you started it off this way,
Hmm.
because I've been sitting here and I have 6 quotes that I like to
Hmm.
introduce into this episode that
Hmm.
touch on everything you said.
Hmm.
There's 6 good quotes, but it's gonna connect. Is along the same vein of everything that you said. I'm gonna start off with a quote from the German excuse me, the German priest Martin Luther. Um, he said, "Next to the word of God, the noble art of music is the greatest treasure in the world." The second quote that's right in, I mean, just in everything that you said, was by Lao Tzu, Chinese philosopher.
Hmm.
Music in the soul can be heard by the universe.
Hmm.
Confucius, Chinese philosopher, says that music produces a kind of pleasure which human nature cannot do without. How
Hmm.
hard is that, B?
Hmm.
The great Stevie Wonder. Music is a world within itself with a language we all understand.
Hmm.
Beethoven. Music is a higher revelation than all wisdom and philosophy. And Nietzsche said, without music, life would be a mistake.
Mm.
Just the power of music.
Mm-hmm.
To go along with what you said, but I want to rewind back a second just to ask you if you have some of those space boots, because I'm convinced you do.
You know,
No?
if I had them, or if I do have them, I won't tell you. I'll just break out with them one day. So you know, to all the viewers out there, I'm not saying I have them. I'm not saying I don't have them. But
Yeah.
we gonna get this viewership up, and then if we get the viewership up to a certain number, I'm not saying what it is, but I have a number in my mind. You may or may not see some space boots. Let's just put we get those numbers up in the outer space, and you might see some space boots, or you might not.
You have on some space boots like Dr. Evil had on on Austin Power. It make me shake. I'm shaking in my space boots. But the, the power of music, bro. And like you said, it is such a major thing. I have been talking to people a long time, and as you can tell by the quotes that I read, music is something that is a connector.
Mm-hmm.
It is a connector. In my own humble opinion, I think that three major things connect people. Number
Mm-hmm.
one, I think that music does.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, music does. One, spirituality, where people are believers
Mm-hmm.
and are peaceful. That is a unifying thing.
Mm-hmm.
Music is the second thing.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing that the third thing, and I've been saying this forever, and even though I don't partake in it, I think a lot of times people, if you look back at the Woodstock era in the 70s and you look at different musicians, they all came together with herbal stimulants.
Right, right,
uh
right.
I mean, even to this day in music, a lot of the time musicians go enter into that, because a lot of musicians say they say that it takes them to a different place creatively. And even when we were making beats a time or two, you know, some herbal found its way into it, once or twice, unless
Right.
it had anything to do with you, because it was like kissing a doggone toothless dog because you never could dry it out right. But 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 you
A
know,
toothless dog.
a toothless dog. But you know, but
A toothless
again,
dog is just tongue in cheek.
so I'm glad I did not partake because of that. But the power of music, Jay, it either it can bring people together in a lot of situations, but depending on the person's mindset, sometimes is a divider. Looking at what we came up on, soul music. I got music to this day, or R&B classics. I like to call them cookout classics, like the Lakesides and the Alexander O'Neills, and those people. A broken heart, men, like Alexander O'Neil, my dude.
Mm-hmm.
But to this day, when we hear those songs, it takes us back to a place in our mind where it was such a good feeling. It was such a good time, because, like Lao Tzu said, and Lao Tzu was a philosopher before Christ. He was born in his birth date is BC. You feel me? Back then, music in the soul. So when people are passionate about music and they say some stuff, it transcends time. If you listen to Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, or, man, my favorite, I wanna come home for Christmas, the Marvin Gaye Christmas song.
Mm-hmm.
I love his political stuff because it was so passionate. It was so passionate.
Mm-hmm.
It was so, I mean, I can't think of it was genius, but so passionate. And we grew up in a time in hip hop where music was used to educate. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think?
About hip hop.
about especially the hip hop that we came up on, the hip
Well, I
hop that
mean,
we fell in love with.
there was a period of it where it was definitely used to educate, and it was also used as a anti violence
Right,
tool. So I really appreciated that aspect of it. I think that music teaches in so many ways. Whether the intent is to teach it, it does anyway. But the era that we grew up in, definitely there was a lot more lessons being taught, and it was just a different kind of free expression. But it was also in a very young stage too. So just any art in general, when it's in its early stages, not only just the words that are being spoken or saying or whatever, uh, but it's also just the technique by which it is being produced is always going to be, uh, dare I say, a little more elementary. But there's a lot to be said about taking more basic type uh, measures of creating something and how far you go with it. Because one thing is about creative people that I know personally, as a pen and ink illustrator, is you give somebody something that's really basic, and then you find out just how creative that person really is when you give them just a couple of things to work with. You find out how creative they are because all they're using are just a couple of things. They don't have this computer that can do tens of thousands of functions, if not more, and you never really get a chance to even use half of that stuff, versus just taking a SP12 or an MP60 or something like that and just trying to maximize that and bend it to do certain things that it may not even been intended to be used for, but you're taking it to that extreme, and so just using it to its full capacity and then exceeding that capacity is what I like about that era, and I'm talking about late '80s, early '90s for me, and that's just a very, very, very creative, uh, uh, avant-garde period
right,
in just music in general, not just hip hop, just music in general. There was a lot of good like soul bands out. Funk was still being put out.
right.
R&B was crazy. The the
Correct.
the the blending of R&B and jazz from the 70s up to that period was just crazy. And so it was a lot of that going on. So you were hearing a lot of like collaborations and people that were playing on albums and contributing to albums that we listened to, a lot of rap albums that we wouldn't even think about, like Japan's very own DJ Tawate was
Hmm.
working with Q-Tip and a Tribe Called Quest and the JBs, just working with native tongues in general. And he was working on a lot of things behind the scenes, but then you would mess around and see Q-Tip rap on "Groove Is in the Heart," a song and video,
Goof is
which
in the
Tawate was a part of
heart.
it. So it's
Right,
like those type of things where a person who might not necessarily listen to this person might listen to something else that they're a part of and not even know it until so many years later
right,
when like Red Bull Music Academy and these type of forums and interviews taking place where all this little hidden secret information is let out about all these people that are working together, like Vinny Mojica and just how things go behind the scenes. So that's the thing I love about music. It's like this endless fluid organism that has all these contributors that contribute in so many different ways, and even us being in band, like you played instruments, but you were also on the front lines, in games and in parades and stuff like that as a drum major. you know, and that's a whole other level of
Right.
musicianship, you know, and of where you took it. Me, I was band captain, so I wasn't, you know, doing all that stuff like you did. You did it to the next level. I always thought it was kind of cool. And I used to mess with you about it. I used to clown you about it, but I always thought that was really cool. And
But
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 that's
look how
something
we brought
that's really needed.
look how we brought that hip hop aspect of it though. Because remember when I was remember I came from off the box and walked out to where you were at and dapped you up, you know, in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of a competition. We brought that
Mm-hmm.
man. Bro, I danced my soul out back then. I used to dance, but
Yeah.
it's because it's something that we feel we felt it in our soul. Even
Right.
when we worked with our drumline man, shout out to Chris, shout out to Bubba freaking L. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
Ruck, all these people that came along, we just had funky cadences that made the crowd rock. Um,
Mm-hmm.
one of the only periods I can remember where people actually watched the halftime show. Interesting. But to your point, we had so much soul, so much music of the power of music affected us in a way that we understood early on the healing powers. We understood early on the ability to reach out and to communicate creatively through it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a firm believer, Jay, that man, I cannot get these doggone aluminum foil looking space boots with you wearing them out of my head. I promise you, you got some aluminum space boots. I'm sorry, man. I can't shake it. Oof, man. Okay, with a silver vest, like a cross between Buck Rogers and Han Solo and Doctor Evil, but and Greedo. Anyway, early on, early on, we just understood, and I'm also a firm believer that, to your point, from the negative side of things, people invest in the music that speaks to them, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, to a certain degree. That's why I think a lot of times musicians have to be extremely careful, but not really, because that's them being creative. But as someone who consumes it,
Mm-hmm.
we have to be mindful of what we consume.
Mm-hmm.
You and I are pretty much students of music. We've spent a lot of time in music, but to somebody looking for something to relate to or to hold on to, they can
Mm-hmm.
easily gravitate towards the negative energy that some of the stuff puts out. And it's not it's not anything new, bro. It's always been that way. You've always had some musicians that came at it on some raw that people would gravitate towards.
Mm-hmm.
You and I and geographics as a whole, we were always just a fan of good music. But
Right.
you talked about native tongues earlier. We had the good fortune of growing up in an era that hip hop was still in its crib at that time. It was an infant at that time. So the hip hop that we had, and even the television that we consumed back then, built us up. It put us in a situation where we wanted to achieve more. You listen to Public Enemy. You listen to Daylight. You were listening to, native tongue people, but they taught us so much. It got us out to where we started
Right.
reading books and looking into different stuff that helped us grow.
Mm-hmm.
Teen Summit back in the day. We mentioned Teen Summit last season too, about how Teen Summit on Saturdays when we watch BET and Teen Summit, the hip hop on there was just music that it made us feel good in our spirit, in our soul,
Right.
and it made us want to go out there and do things. Even hardcore music, the hardcore hip hop we came and listened to, a lot of it had a message, not all of it. I'm not going to sit here and say that all the music at that time was positive, because it wasn't. But we gravitated towards that because we were positive kids, like we're positive adults now. But if you're looking for something, you're gonna find it. So therefore, you got music that fuels depression. You have music that fuels hate. You have music
Right.
that fuels uh, that fuels criminal activity or
Right.
whatever. Everything has its soundtrack, and that's what makes it so freaking powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It is so powerful because it has healing power, but at the same time, if you're not careful, to your point, it also has the power to divide, the power to destroy.
Yeah, it has very potentially destructive properties if used in the wrong way. But that's like any tool.
Any tool,
You know,
right?
if you use you can use a screwdriver to tighten a screw, so your fence or your or will stay together, or your door will stay on its hinges, or a car part will stay together. But you can use that you can use that same screwdriver to go upside somebody's head, or you can use it to undo something that will cause harm
Right.
on a mechanical device, or an appliance or whatever. If you take it apart purposely and leave it that way, knowing that it's going to cause some level of destruction. So it's what are you using it for, and that's why. Music in certain hands and in certain environments can be it can influence people to do certain things that is detrimental to their life, or detrimental to the lives and well beings of other people, and we just got to be careful with that. And I don't like to police people when they're doing
Right.
stuff with music, but or just any creative thing in general. I don't try to be the police or overseer of it, but I just encourage creative people to just be mindful of what they're doing,
I
and how
remember
who they're reaching.
I got this. I got to go here to talk about where we're from. We from a little small area in Northeast Georgia. We were exposed to a lot. I talked about a few episodes ago my first time meeting the pimp, and he told me to keep working with my music box when I was making beats. And I started thinking about we were at we was at this concert one time, you and I. And hey man, I remember we were having a great time.
Hmm.
And I remember that was our first time seeing Cypress Hill. They had just came out, and they were, we love Cypress Hill too. And we
Hmm.
was happy to see them. And I
Hmm.
remember they perform, shoot them up, just shoot them up, shoot them up.
Brazil.
Man, I remember you and I were there, and the crowd was just wild, and everybody was loving it.
Yeah.
Bruh, I was terrified. Word.
Why?
B, listen, B, we weren't used to that.
No,
We
we
weren't
weren't.
used to that. So the crowd, and I had DJ, and I had, I was used to crowd control, but I felt like at that point, I could just see something in some folks' eyes. You know,
But
I said,
there was something that's what we were talking about. The music we consume sometimes
right.
it'll put you in a certain
It put you in the track
mind frame of
sometimes. They were
thinking.
entertaining. So I still love them songs. I listened to them to the man. Latin Lingo was a classic. Sindor. But
Yeah,
I I
I
just,
haven't listened to Cypress Hill in years, but
man,
I listened
I
to them a lot back then,
bruh,
a lot.
I'm shout out to Cypress Hill. I like Cypress Hill. So I but at that point in the game, I just knew that the crowd was about to get shot up because it was just some crazy looking dudes that just looked like they was about to pop it off. And I remember I was terrified because I didn't know. I was looking for an exit. I was looking for who I had to punch potentially. Another part, I was in a fight actually broke out, and oh yeah, it was crazy. Those things got me out of the club early, but it is the power of music. But if you remember after that, Tretch came in and laid it back straight. That whole atmosphere was just
Not by nature. Yep.
yeah, they was doing that thing, and then hey, shout out to Chris Parker, man. He just one of the best live performances I ever seen. At that place where we were when BDP came on, he shut it slapped down. And it was just, but because we were more used to that side of things, that's what we were listening to. Like really, really listening to.
Hey, it's Jason Thomas, aka Big J. I just wanted to say thank you all for supporting our content. We put a lot of love and effort into what we do, and I just want to say thank you all who watch us, who support us. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. Peace.
And it resonated more so with where we were from and what we were, dealing with. So I started understanding through the power of music that through the power of hip hop music, especially, a lot of people started just representing where they were from and just telling their stories and telling what their experiences are.
Right.
People like our crew, we can listen to that and be in a situation where we were educated from the songs and by the lyrics and even by the beats. Other people who are in similar situations, they gravitate towards the other side of it, and it motivates them to get into survival mode a little deeper in some situations and wild out. And so, but that's powerful because again, music can motivate you to go any direction you want to go in. We were motivated to go the one route. Somebody else may be motivated to get on something different. And I'm glad that we can differentiate the two. But even when we came up, it was even power in the name. It was an expectation with hip hop. It's man, another story when I was scared, hanging out with the crew. You know I'm about to go. You so stupid. King Mecca the Lion.
Yeah.
King.
Shout out to my people in Columbus, Georgia. Shout out to my people in Columbus, Georgia.
King Mecca the Lion. You said, man, I'm so happy we ain't hit the stage. With a name like that, you got to come hard. And you do. I had never heard them rhyme.
You got to snap. You got to snap with a name like that. You got to.
I had never heard them rhyme.
Or you got to do some dance hall music or something.
I had never heard them rhyme. And it was a blood sport. I just knew we were going to get hurt. And at that point in the time, I'm like, hey, maybe I should get on the turntables. And I'm like, nah, because the DJ going to get hit. If somebody start throwing stuff, everybody else going to duck. And I can't see it coming.
He could go.
You said he was dope, but I hadn't heard him.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard him.
The last freestyle that we did, and this was a long time ago, but he actually kept recording though years after that. But
that is one of the funniest nights ever.
Yeah, but he the last freestyle that we did together, he really snapped, and that's when he was really coming into his own, which was good for him because it was at a time where even though everybody was on the verge of kind of going their separate, ways or whatever, he kept going. He kind of came into his own at a good time for him because he kept doing it, and then he started actually recording songs. So that was good. But yeah, we've had so much talent, musical talent around us, in our camp, and it's still there, So it's just another great talent, that we've experienced, been around, learned from, and also have helped mold, and help influence as well. So man, I'm telling you, man, that show you're talking about that we were at, we were still in high school though when we went to that the Cypress Hill
Yeah, that we
United
was in high
Baptist
school,
Church
right?
and BDP. That was we were still in high school, which was wild because here we are, driving, coming up 2 hours to Atlanta to a college campus reunion. Shout out to Morris Brown College.
Shout out to
If
the
you there,
AU. Shout out to the
to the
AU.
AU
Period.
in general, yeah.
Everybody was there,
Uh,
bro.
yeah, so that was a good that was a good group that they had, and it gave you so many different looks and listens to what the music was all about. So it was great. One of my favorite groups from that era and of all time is Arrested Development because
Yes,
they were like my gospel music at that time. I
right,
remember listening to Arrested Development before and after church because they had this like really like artsy Christian
correct.
kind of vibe about them, and I to this day I still kind of vibe to that, and I listen to their music to this day, and I had a chance to meet different members of the group through the years,
Hmm.
and they're just really really just genuine great people, and what I heard in their music is what I felt and experienced when I met them, just in real life. And they say, don't meet your heroes or don't meet people that you like or admire or something that they do. But I will say, upon meeting them or just members of the group individually, collectively, whatever, they were great, man. And I really, really, and I could tell that they were grounded, and they've done some great things, Grammys and world tours. But I just their music, a lot of music. I've listened to a lot of music through the years, but there's certain bands, certain groups that stick with me to this day, and that's one of those groups, man. And they just did it for me. I mean, just for one, because their original like videos and stuff, they were in like old southern, those big old southern houses, man, with those high ceilings, and out there painting and stuff in the front of the house on the porch, and
Right,
wearing overalls and stuff. That it was this eclectic mixture of black spirituality and teaching and love and African art and music and Caribbean art and music and culture and just a vibe. It's just a whole vibe that I was feeling. And then they were giving, shout out to Jesus Christ, and love to him in their music as well. So I was
correct.
like, wow, this is what I'm about. So I just, just a shout out to them. Shout out to Speech Thomas. Shout out to Sister Ishi. Just shout out to y'all, man. Like just
Speech,
one love. Shout out to you guys.
speech. One of the most underrated producers in hip hop history, man. I was listening to Basement Music the other day that he produced with Gumbo. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and for the listener, we're gonna throw some stuff out there. Definitely go to YouTube and support some of the artists from yesteryear because they were so amazingly talented
Mm-hmm.
and dope. But Jay, you know something? I, I'm going back to what you said earlier, B. There's no way we can get through it. I'm telling the listener right now, we're gonna have to do a part 2 and dive deeper into the power of music. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. We're
Because
gonna
now
have to, man.
we got to, because even right now, the power of music is one of the, besides God and our belief system, the power of
Mm-hmm.
music, whether gospel, hip hop, or whatever, is still affecting us as grown men. Like, I mean, come on, man. Our creativity is still what it is through that. Dora always
Well, it's
tell me
because
the producer and you didn't
honestly,
die.
it's because God. has a rhythm. You know,
Oh,
like
yes.
when God gave us breath and he breathed life into us. You know, there's a rhythm to our breathing and our heartbeat. You know, there's a rhythm to the oceans and the tides and the
Right.
water crashing and there's a rhythm to nature. You know, when you go outside
When you go
and
outside at night, yeah,
yeah, or early in the morning when
or in
the
the morning,
windows up,
correct.
you hear birds and stuff having it's not
It's a
only just
symphony.
a rhythm, yeah,
It's a
it's a
symphony.
symphony and
It's a symphony.
there's a purpose. There's a true purpose that God has uh to that. I was watching a video. Someone was talking about these plants that have there's a certain type of at a certain point in the morning, right before the sun comes up, that there are holes that form in leaves on plants,
Uh-huh.
and birds when birds chirp when the birds start chirping early in the morning before anybody's really truly awake, that can wake you up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. When you
Right.
hear birds doing it, when you hear birds chirping, their chirps when done in unison and when there's a lot of them, it actually creates a frequency
A freak.
that
Mm-hmm.
opens these holes in
Mm-hmm.
these really small holes in plants that allows air to flow through them. So it's and it also helps in pollination. So it's like
Right.
it was so crazy when I thought about that. I was like, God has this intricate weave of purpose and beauty and art and
Correct.
rhythm
All
and
over the place.
all over the place, how one thing can affect so many other things and how all these things are just beautifully interwoven, and that just shows you that the creative that God is the ultimate creator, and God has a rhythm, and he gives us all our own individual rhythm to our lives and how we move and how we talk, how we walk and how we move, how I do my hands and when I speak
Right.
and how you may nod your head or how I might do it, or just how we even have certain instruments that can be assigned to our speaking voices and stuff. And
Right.
God gives us that, so he is the ultimate creator and the ultimate artist. So he's gonna have that, and that's the beautiful thing about music is just capturing a smidgen. It's just capturing a small smidgen of the creativity that God expresses uh, before we were born, at the beginning of time, and will continue to do through it all. So it's like through the end. So it's like God is just. I'm telling you, like that's one of the things I love so much about God as an artist is
Mm-hmm. Right.
uh, I can appreciate the rhythm that I experience through God and His creativity from what I see and hear and experience and what I feel. So it's like it's beautiful and it's all love. And I'm I'm just glad that I'm here to experience it, talk about it, and we got to do a part two.
We got to do a part two, bro. We got to. I'm already
Yeah, man.
thinking forward into it. Uh,
Yeah.
this episode is a great springboard to get into it. You can link up with us
Hmm.
uh with social media. You can get at us on X, formerly Twitter, uh our content pod, individually Wizdumb19 at Wizdumb1914 at Big J Thomas 3, Instagram our content podcast, youtube.com/at our content podcast, Gmail our content podcast at gmail.com, and the audio only version on Apple Podcasts, our content podcast. We are definitely gonna do definitely gonna do an episode 2 to with this music episode, because this is where we live. Until then, we like to say thank you for the support. Thank you for the positive comments that you that have been sent to us. We're going to keep doing what it is that we do. We having fun doing it, and hopefully we're reaching more people in the process. So until next time, we're going to get at you. Anything else, Jay?
I just want to say one love. I'm thankful to all the listeners and watchers out there. You know, sometimes I have to go back and re-listen to some of the stuff that we talk about. And I'm just telling y'all, we say some wild stuff sometimes. Some stuff that you don't even hear. This is just a part of our lives, something we've been doing for a long time. We've been talking about this for so long. And I'm just so glad that you guys can partake of what we're doing and you can enjoy it. And I always say this, and I say it again. I just hope that we can positively influence you in some way or another. If there's anything that you would like to hear us speak about, just let us know. Just drop it on us and let us know. And good. Well, thank you for all the well wishes and all the people who are supporting us. We love you, and God be with all of y'all. Peace.